Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Let's get into this week's lesson. This week, we're going to be working with spreadsheets, and I'm going to give the students two options to work with spreadsheets. If we had all of our students in school in a traditional school year, we would use Excel. And because we have some students working remotely, I also will show you how to use Google Sheets as a spreadsheet. So just to review, we did this a little in third grade. Excel is based on columns and rows. So each of the letters is a column. So we have the A column, B column, C column, D column, E column. Okay, so those are the columns. The numbers are the rows, right? It goes up, it goes from the top all the way down. When you combine a column with a row, you get a cell. Okay, so this cell, it's called C4. This one's B10, G8, A2. Each cell has a name. And these cells allow us to do a lot of different things. So what we could do is you could say, you could just write, like your name here, and then you could put a list of students here. Students, student 2, student 2. You can make this student 1. However you want to do it, you can put different data in there and you can type into each cell. You could also turn the cell into a calculator. So if I said, equals, if you want to turn a cell into a calculator, you always start with equal. If I said equals 3 plus 3, then I click enter, it makes the solution for me. So if I said equals 23 minus 9, and now I click enter, it gives me the answer. So if you want to turn a cell into a calculator, you always start with equal. If you want to do multiples, you use the star, which would be shift and 8. 3 times 3, and then you click enter to get the solution. And finally, division, you would have to do equals, and then you put the slash, and you click enter, and you get that. So next week, we're going to work on using Excel to make a grade book. But for this week, we're going to talk about how to make graphs. So Excel is excellent for creating graphs and also for putting in data. So another thing you could do real quick, I just want to show you before we talk about the graph. If you had different, subjects up here, let's say you had math, science, art, gym, and you had to put these in alphabetical order, what you could do is you could highlight them. You put your mouse down, hold it down, and move your mouse down as you're holding down the left click. If you go to data, and you can go to A to Z, you see, just put them to it's put them in alphabetical order. So, and you can go back, and if you want to see it again. So, again, if you have a bunch of different data and you want to look at it, if you go to data and you want to put it in A to Z, you can click over here and you can make it A to Z. So that's one thing you could do. You also could color in the cells, and we're going to talk about this next week. You could do, different colors like that with the cell, like maybe make this yellow, or you could make this, orange, etc. So we'll talk about that next week when we talk about doing our grade book, and I'm going to delete this. Last thing I want to mention real quick before we do our graphs this week, if you had a bunch of different numbers together, let's say you had this, and you wanted to add all of those up, what you would do is you would highlight like this, okay, highlight all of them into a column, put them all in one column and highlight them, and you go to the little E here, and if you put sum, down here you see it puts the sum of all of these numbers added together. If you wanted to find the average of them, and we're going to do this next week, you go over here, you go to average, okay, so it tells you the average is 59.75, and then finally, if you wanted to really quickly, if you want to say what was the biggest number, you go to the E, and it goes max, it will tell you the biggest number. If you go over here, and you go to the E, and you go to min, it will tell you what was the smallest of those. So Excel's very good at using numbers and allowing us to find numbers very quickly, the smallest, the biggest, the average, etc. So we're going to talk about that more next week when we work on creating our own grade book. But for this week, we're going to work on creating graphs. So I want to show you real quick how we're going to do it. Okay, so I have included the graph on the Google Classroom so you could see, and I'll show you how to do it in Excel, then I'll show you how to do it in the Google Sheets, because Google Sheets is the equivalent of Excel. So let's say you wanted to make a line graph. So the first question is about the line graph. It says we have days of the week. Okay, so let's say we had Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Monday. Now here's where Excel's really smart. If you are doing something like this, like putting the days of the week, Excel can figure out what you're doing. So what you do is you highlight the 2 days, and you see it changes to a black plus like that, and then I hold it down and I drag it, and Excel will finish it for me. It will figure out what I'm doing. If you don't have that and you just have to type it in, it's okay. So here I put day, and then what I do is I take my data, which I have. So I says, like, 74, 76, 77, 78, 82, 76, 75. So let's look at this. First day was 74 degrees, and the next day was 76, 77, 78, 82. And I'm just using the data right off the sheet that's included in Google Classroom, and 75. So here I'm going to put temperature. Okay, oh, let me spell it right. And if you want to extend Excel, a cell I should say, you see the little, it changes to a little multi-arrow where it goes in both directions. You click and hold, and you could drag it. Okay, so I'll show you again. If you want to extend, you can go click between the B and the C, and you can extend. Okay, so now we have our temperature here, and if I want to turn this into a line graph, because that's the first thing we're going to do, we're going to do a line graph. I'm going to highlight all of these, and I'll do insert. Actually, we'll not do that insert. We're going to do this insert. I'm sorry. So just to review, you're going to highlight all of these, click and hold, highlight all of them. It's okay if this one's not gray. It's perfectly fine. You do insert here, not this insert. You got to do the insert down here and insert. Let's do a line graph. Now it gets a little tricky. Some children get confused and use this line. We're going to use this line over here. Okay, we'll do a line graph, and we're going to do a 2D line over here. Okay, so now here's our graph now of the temperature. Okay, so it tells us our temperature. Notice we made a nice little graph here. It tells us on Sunday the temperature was here, and then went up on Thursday and went down. If you want to change the color, you can click on this, and you could change the color over here. You can make this well, let's say more orange. Now you got an orange look. If you want to change the design, you click on chart design. You can do this one instead. Okay, so that's a line graph. That's our first question. The next question was about bar graphs. So now I'm going to go down here, and we're going to be talking about the players, and we're going to talk about how many hits they got, how many home runs, and how many RBIs. Okay, so let's take a look how you would do it. So the first player was Cespedes, and then we had Sanchez, and then we had Trepp. Okay, and I'm just taking this right from the sheet that's included in Google Classroom. Oh, so I put in the wrong one. This has got to be here, 59. 59 and 171. So you just enter it in. Okay, 31 homers, and then 20, 29, and RBIs 85, 42, 99. Okay, so now we want to take their data and we want to make it into a bar graph. Okay, so set it up just like this, and I highlight them all, and I go to insert, and I go to bar. Okay, I go to that one over here, and I click it, and now we have a nice bar graph. Okay, so this tells us their stats, and if you want to make a title, you just click over here, and you could say, batting statistics. Okay, and if you don't like those colors, I could click on here, and I could go, and if you want to, you could use one of these designs if you would like. Some students, they like to use those. Maybe you like this one instead if you want a different style. And if you don't like, let's say you don't like this gray one, you want to change it, you can go to the paint bucket, you go to fill, and instead of gray, you could make it, let's say you want to make it green. Now it's green. Okay, you also could do it over here, home. If you go to home, if you click on, let's say, this person, the blue, you could change the blue. You could make it, let's say, let's yellow. Okay, so you could also go to home and click it there to change it. So that's our batting statistics there. Okay, so I like the other color better. So if you don't like it, you can just always go back like that. So we did 2 graphs so far. We did a line graph, and now we did a bar graph. And the final thing we're going to do is a pie graph, and a pie graph breaks it from breaks the whole down into a few different sections. So let's take a look. So now we have a pie graph, and we're going to say player. We're going to say receptions. Okay, so this is going to be a football one. How many catches did they get? Okay, so we had Cruz, Beckham, Cruz. Actually, Shepard's with Shepard. Okay, and then we just look at the number right next to it. We had 19, 11, 8, 8, 8. Okay, so now we want to make a pie graph. Okay, oh, you don't want any blank down, so I just click and hold, and I select, and I go to insert, not this insert, this insert. Okay, and insert a pie graph. I click here, and I make a pie graph. Okay, so now it makes a graph for me. Receptions. Okay, and again, if I don't like those colors, let's say I don't like the gray, I can click. So you don't want to click so that everything's selected. You only want, let's say, the gray selected. You go to home, and then if I wanted that, let's say I'll make that purple. Okay, so I click on only the area I want. So only the 3 dots are in that area, and then I can go to home and I can change the color. So that's all I would like the students to do this week. I'd like them to watch the video, and we're going to do our typing as well. I'd like you to work on your typing. I'd like you to watch this video, and I would like you to also do these 3 graphs. Okay, I want you to do 3 graphs. I want you to do a line graph, and then a bar graph, and a graph that's a pie graph. Okay, and you can use the data that I used in this video. It's the same data that I include in the sheet that I uploaded to Google Classroom. Now let's take a look at how you would do this with Google Sheets. Okay, so if you don't have Excel at home and you want to use Google Sheets, what you do is you just go to our assignment and you do add or create, and you add or create a Google Sheet. Google Sheet is similar to Excel. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar enough that you can create your graphs and you could do similar things. So I'm just going to copy and paste the data in so I don't have to do it again. So let's say I had a line graph here, and I can do Control C, and I'll just show the kids so they have it. So if you want it in here, Control V. Now I have my temperature. If I want to make a line graph, okay, I put it in here. I'm going to go to, sorry about that. I'm going to go to Insert a chart, and then it does it for me. And then I could go like this. And if I don't want a line graph, what I could do, a line chart, I should say, I could say, well, I wanted a bar graph, or I could say, I want this line graph, right? You could change it. So, or I could say, I want one of these. Okay, so you pick the one that you want over here. It's a little different from Excel, but you got it to work. Okay, so you pick the one that you like, column, bar, pie graph, okay? So what I would like the students to do is I would like the students to do 3 graphs this week. Okay, and then once you have your data in, you highlight it all, insert chart. Okay, and if I want a bar graph, they did it for me. But you could scroll down to find the one that you like. But they're pretty smart. They knew I wanted a column graph. And then when you're done and you're ready to turn it in, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to Google Classroom here. Okay, here's Google Classroom. Here's the assignment. Make sure it's there, and you click Turn In. Okay, so make sure it's there and click Turn In. If it's not there, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Add, and you're going to go Add from Google Drive. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find your recent work. So it's probably something like that. You click it, and you do Insert. And then you turn it in, and then I could see your graphs. If you used Excel, what you would do is you would just do Add or Create, and then you'd say a file. And then what you have to do is you'd have to upload your file to Excel from Excel, or you could just drag it in here. Okay, so that's our assignment for this week. Please do some typing, and also please do your 3 graphs in Excel or Google Sheets.